Welcome to our New York Giants Preservation Society meeting for tonight, October 10th, 2024. We got a return visitor tonight, Greg Wolf, who was on a few weeks ago speaking about Jim Hearn. He's going to be talking to us about the 70th anniversary of The Catch. I know the San Francisco's out there. I think Dwight Clark has The Catch, but this is really The Catch. Clark is The Catch too. Next week, we have John Iamarino, who's going to be talking about the 1962 World Series between the Giants and the Yankees, in which there were a lot of New York Giants still on the team. So,
is that Wednesday or Thursday?
That's going to be next Wednesday.
Oh, Wednesday, good.
Yes.
Hey, I
lost...
can't make Thursday, but I think I can make Wednesday. Good.
Thank you. We lost another New York Giant last week. In Ozzie Virgil. There are only 6 New York Giants who played in New York who are still with us. Why don't we take a 10-second moment of silence to remember Ozzie Virgil. Okay, thanks. I was telling Tom, who knows a lot about Latino baseball, that I spoke to Ozzie Virgil's daughter, and Ozzie Virgil was buried in a New York Giants uniform. So very cool. A lot of Mets fans in here. Let's go Mets.
Yep.
Guys.
Thank you.
The Staten Island Ferry Hawks got in touch with me. They are definitely doing something next year to honor Bobby Thompson. I got in touch with his daughter, and I think she will be a part of it, which will be great. Lastly, for those who are going to be fasting this weekend, I hope it's easy for you. And why don't we turn our attention back to Greg? Well, Greg, besides working on the 50-14 book, also worked on the Willie Mays book. And his subject tonight is purposely done because it's October, which it could have been the exact date, September 29th, 1954, but it was during the 1954 World Series, in which we are celebrating the 70th anniversary of that. So, Greg, thank you so much for pinch hitting tonight, coming in, and let's all welcome Greg back. Greg, it's all yours.
Well, thank you, Gary. Oh, will you enable the sharing option?
Absolutely. All yours.
Okay. So you all can see that?
No.
Okay, hold on then. Let's see what's going on. Now you can, right, Gary?
Now we can. Looks good.
Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well, thank you so much for the chance to come back and talk to you all about baseball and the New York Giants, and to pinch it for my good friend and fellow Sabre colleague Warren Corbett, who was originally scheduled to speak with you all. Really, with so much going on right now in the world, politics, with the Hurricane Milton in Florida, not to mention the Tigers and game going on. I really appreciate that you're here. I wasn't sure if anyone would show up, quite honestly. Well, baseball and myth making. Sports occasionally provides us with a play, an image, if you will, that transcends time and space. It captures an ideal, a virtue, or a dream, an image or event that weaves its own narrative, which grows and changes over time. One might think of the Miracle on Ice, often cited as the greatest moment in the history of U.S. sport. The U.S.'s defeat of the Soviet Union in 1980, the 1980 Olympics, democracy over communism, freedom over tyranny. Many people think that this is, in fact, the gold medal winning game, though it's not. Maybe you think of Bill Mazeroski's walk-off home run in Game 7, 1960 World Series, to lead David over Goliath, the underdog Pittsburgh Pirates over the Yankees, in what many have called the greatest or most memorable single moment in baseball history. While home runs are instantaneous blasts with celebratory trots around the bases, awe-inspiring catches unfold almost in a slow motion, often revealing a player's sheer athleticism and leaving the viewer speechless, breathless, much like the Mets' Tommy Agee's catches in the 4th and 7th inning, men on base to help preserve the Mets' win over the Orioles in Game 3 of the 1969 All-World Series. And I'm going to be moving around here. I have a little bit of a clip for us.
Boy, you're making the Met fans very happy.
Well, thank you. Okay. Some catches literally saved the World Series victory, much like second baseman Bobby Richardson's snare of Stretch McCovey's screeching liner with men on second and third, with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning in Game 7 of the 1962 Fall Classic. Some catches, maybe like Dwight Evans' momentous grab in the bottom of the 11th in Game 6 of the 1975 World Series, have become part of a larger narrative. The sheer magnitude and suspense of Hall of Famer Carlton Fisk's game-winning home run just an inning later has tended to overshadow Evans' catch. Were you able to see those clips?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. I wasn't sure how focused they were on your side. Other catches, maybe like Joe Rudy's game-saving catch in the bottom of the 9th inning of Game 2 of the World Series, seemed to defy all laws of physics, from his long sprint to a spectacular backhanded grab against the wall. But the game itself lacked highlights and drama. Okay. Spectacular catches create baseball mythology, not just because they're amazing, but because of the stakes and the magnitude of the game, the World Series, the players and teams involved, the drama, the intensity and excitement of the game. You might also think of Sandy Amoros's 6th-inning catch of Yogi Berra, Yogi Berra's deep fly with a runner on first and second in Game 7 of the 1955 World Series. One might even ask, if the Yankees had won that game, would that catch still be held as one of the most memorable in baseball history? No doubt you all could mention so many memorable catches, so many great plays, but the most memorable, indeed most iconic catch in baseball history occurred at the epicenter of so many disparate factors which have propelled the play to mythical status, from the involvement of baseball's greatest players, best teams, stomach-churning suspense, and a series of exciting and momentum-changing plays. Let's turn our attention to Willie Mays and the catch of Game 1 of the 1954 World Series. You all probably have dreams of this catch, but I'm going to play it anyway. Okay, the video and the radio announcer, that's not doesn't coincide perfectly. Slugger Vic Wirtz smashes a ball some 400 feet into center field at the Polo Grounds. Mays sprints, makes the over-the-shoulder catch, then spins around and rifles the ball into the infield. We all can see this play unfolding even without an image or a video. While Larry Doby moves up from second to third, Al Rosen stood pat on first. Hyperbole has been part of baseball since the first professional games and teams began in 1871. I heard one commentator call the Phillies' Nick Castellanos' walk-off single in Game 2 of this year's NLDS as one of the greatest hits in the history of playoff baseball. Long before hyperbole was attached to seemingly every great play, let alone every game-winning or game-saving catch, Mays' catch was immediately hailed as one of the best in baseball history. Influential AP sports writer Gail Talbot called the catch truly amazing. Here's an interesting view. I don't think this view is as known as some of the others. New York Giants manager Leo DeRocher said, "It was great. The wind was blowing. Mays had us back to the diamond, and I don't know how to do that." Legendary broadcaster, whose voice you just heard on that video clip, described the robbery as optical illusion at the end of what I played. We were beaten by the longest home run, by the longest out, and the shortest home run of the year, said an incredulous Al Lopez, skipper of the Cleveland Indians, whose team lost the opener of that 1954 Fall Classic in extra innings, featuring two of the most iconic plays in baseball history. Here's a New York paper, Rhodes. Here's the New York Times with featuring Mays, Rhodes, and Grissom. Following Mays's over-the-shoulder run-saving catch into deep center field to preserve a tie in the eighth inning, Dusty Rhodes belts his walk-off pinch hit 3-run home run into the short right field porch in the 10th inning to give the Giants a dramatic 5-2 victory in the Polo Grounds. This is the Cleveland Plain Dealers sports page with Mays and Rhodes's home run.
Greg, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yeah.
The only thing we're seeing is the YouTube blank page.
Oh my gosh.
No, we're seeing, in between, we're seeing the catch.
Let's see here. That's unfortunate here. Can you see this the PowerPoint here?
Yes.
Okay, now you can. Okay. Well, let's see here. Were you able to see this image? Did you see that one?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Then I show this one. Did
No.
you see this image?
Now
Okay.
we see that one. Yes.
Okay, good. So it's still working here. So I had three with that paragraph that I had just introduced. I had three newspapers, one in New York, Daily News featuring Rhodes, the New York Times featuring the three heroes of the game, and the Cleveland Plain Dealer featuring Willie Mays' catch on the left side, and Rhodes' home run on the right side. Okay, it was just another game for us, said Giants pitcher Johnny Antonelli, who started game 2. We won the pennant with finishes like this all season long. For him, he said, this is nothing new. According to the Associated Press, the Giants, who were 97 and 57 during the regular season, were 8-5 underdogs against the Indians, winners of a then AL record 111 victories. But a closer look of the squads reveals two really very similar teams. The Indians' pitching staff was their shining diamond, featuring two 23-game winners. Bob Lemon, an early win, helped Cleveland lead the American League with a stellar 2.78 earned run average. New York's pitching staff, though less glamorous than Cleveland's, also paced their league, the National League, in ERA 3.09, but unlike its opponent, relied heavily on its relief corps, easily the best in baseball, featuring Marv Grissom and Hoyt Wilhelm. I have their statistics here. Both squads were average hitting teams that neither led their league in runs scored, but they did lead or co-lead their respective leagues in home runs. On a warm autumn afternoon, Wednesday, September 29, 1954, at the Polo Grounds, there were 52,751 spectators. Singer Perry Como, supported by Artie White's orchestra, sang the national anthem, while Jimmy Barbieri, the 12-year-old captain of Schenectady's Little League World Championship team, threw out the only ceremonial first pitch. Cleveland wasted no time getting to 37-year-old unflappable curveballer New York Sal Magley, 14-6 during the regular season, but just one win in September. He drilled L. Smith on the fourth pitch of the game. That's the opening batter. Bobby Avila, who led the AL with a career-high 341 batting average, lined a single in front of a charging right fielder Don Mueller, who fumbled it, allowing Smith to scamper to third. After Larry Doby and Al Rosen popped up, Vic Wirtz smashed a long ball over Mueller's head. It caromed off the wall, wrote John Drebinger in the New York Times, before Willie Mays gathered it. Wirtz slid easily into third as Smith and Avila scored, giving the Indians a 2-0 lead. Giants manager Leo DeRocher, expecting the worst, had swingman Don Little warm up in the bullpen. But the barber, so named for his command of the inside of the plate, shrugged off these two runs and settled down. I love this picture. This is also the opening pitch of the game. New York faced Cleveland's 33-year-old ace, right-hander Bob Lemon, as I mentioned, who had recorded a major league most 148 victories in the previous 7 seasons. He squelched a Giants' threat in the first with runners on first and third, cruised into the bottom of the third, nursing a 2-0 lead. Described by longtime Chicago Tribune sports writer Irving Vaughn as only steady at times, Lemon struggled with control throughout the game, and that was his bugaboo as a pitcher. The Giants' Whitey Lockman and Al Dark led off the third with singles. Mueller, who enjoyed a career year batting .342 and leading the NL with 212 safeties, grounded into a force as Lockman scored. After a walk to Mays, Hank Thompson blasted a single, driving in Mueller to tie the game. While Cleveland's Art Udeman warmed up in the bullpen, Lemon set down Monty Irvin and Davey Williams to extinguish another rally. Lemon, who had been Cleveland's opening day center fielder in 1946 before being converted into a pitcher, gathered his composure and allowed only 4 base runners, 3 hits from the 4th through the 9th innings. He was really cruising. New York dodged another bullet in the 6th when Wirtz led off with a single to right field. I wanted to show this image because this shows Wirtz's shin guard really well. Mueller attempted to throw him out at first, but the ball shot over Lockman's head. Wirtz should have made it to third, I thought skipper Lopez, but the slow-footed slugger's protective shin guard, the one I just mentioned, broke loose and stopped him at second, trying to get a break on that. 2 innings later, the left-handed batting Wirtz faced Don Little, who had just replaced Barber, with 2 men on and no outs. Little, in a swingman's role, had tossed the shutout in his last appearance on 9/24. Wirtz batted the Southpaw's 4th pitch deep into center field. Mays, just 23 years old, took sight of the ball and raced with his back facing the diamond toward the wall in front of the bleachers, just the shade right of center field. Drebinger, the New York Times sports writer, wrote, Mays traveled in the wings of wind to make one of his most amazing catches. I really love these old photos depicting the entire field. I like how Little comes over to support the pitch, to support the throwback towards home. Mays, the NL's most valuable player in his first full season after spending most of the previous 2 in the armed forces, whirled around and heaved the ball into the infield as Doby tagged and raced to third. I had interviewed Bobby Weinstein. I don't know if he ever spoke to your group. He was one of the Giants bat boys at the game. DeRocher was standing in front of me in the dugout, Weinstein told me. He turned around and said, looking at me, "Oh no!" And then he saw Mays run down the ball. After the game, Mays took his fielding exploits in stride. I had it all the way, he said. There was nothing hard about it. The forgotten star of what AP sports writer Gail Talbot called a real hard rock of the baseball game was Giants reliever Marv Grissom, who snuffed out Cleveland's rallies in the 8th, 9th, and 10th inning, relieving Little after what sports writer Dan Daniel called Mays' most preposterous catch of the fly ball. Grissom walked pinch hitter Dale Mitchell to load the bases. After another pinch hitter, Dave Pope, fan looking, Jim Hegan smashed a fly ball to deep left field. It looked like a home run, said Al Lopez, but the wind, blowing it from left to right, pulled the ball back in. With 2 outs in the 9th, left fielder Monty Irvin dropped Avila's pop-up for a two-base error, putting a man in scoring position for slugger Doby, who had led the AL in home runs and RBIs with 126. Grissom issued an intentional pass to face Al Rosen, second best hitter on the team that season, 24 and 102. Rosen, the 1953 AL MVP, flied out to end threat. In the throat-clutching final inning, Wirtz led off the 10th with his 4th hit. Amazing that he wasn't intentionally walked. It was a double to the gap into left center. Pinch hitter Rudy Regalado moved to third on Sam Dente's sacrifice. With nerves of steel, old tomato-faced Grissom intentionally walked Pope, then fanned Bill Glynn and induced Lemon, the best hitting pitcher in baseball, maybe one could argue, at least of the 1950s. He lined out to first to end the inning, the go-ahead run just 90 feet from home plate. The Indians tossed away multiple scoring chances and left 7 runners on in those last 3 innings. The bottom of the 10th provided, in the words of Drebinger, breathtaking finish to a nerve-tingling struggle as any World Series has ever seen. After striking out Mueller, Lemon issued a walk to Mays, who moved into scoring position by stealing second. Lemon issued an intentional pass to Thompson to play for an inning-ending twin killing. The next batter, Dusty Rhodes, pinch hit for Monty Irvin. a poor fielder, Rhodes enjoyed a career year in 1954, batting .341, 15 home runs, and 50 RBIs in just 164 at-bats. He also hit 2 of the Giants' record 10 pinch hit home runs that season. Rhodes swung at Lemon's first pitch and hit a pop fly down the right field line. Now I hope this will work out. Trying to show another image, short video. I hope you all can see it.
You know, Greg, when you've showed the videos, I don't know if you know on your end, there is no volume on any of them.
Oh, that's too bad. Okay.
But we recognize a lot.
But you can see it. That's
Oh,
the main thing, that
absolutely.
you can see it.
Absolutely.
That's exciting, even 70 years later, and especially on a baseball night. Lopez said, "We all thought the ball was going to twist foul like in the previous inning. Instead, the ball travels about 270 feet and barely clears the right field stands, bouncing off a fan and rolling back onto the field. Rhodes' 3-run walk-off home run gives the Giants a stunning victory." Hailed as a Chinese home run, a cheap home run in the insensitive parlance of the time, Rhodes' round tripper was just the 4th pinch hit home run in the World Series, and the first pinch hit home run to end a game. As we all know, it was really just the beginning for Rhodes' 3 consecutive game heroics. In the series, he goes 4 for 6, 2 home runs, the only Giants home runs, and knocks in 7. And I often have to wonder how many free drinks did the big Alabaman have the rest of his life just on game 1, let alone game 2 and 3. It was difficult to find the #1 hero in the Giants clubhouse, said New York Times columnist Roscoe McGowan. From team electrifier Mays to the clutch hitting of Rhodes to Grissom's relentless pressure-packed pitching, the Giants made a heroic statement on game 1. Mays and Rhodes plays enter baseball mythology. I appreciate you listening to me. I hope it wasn't too boring. All of this stuff you all know much better than I, and you all have watched more than likely the games and listened to them so many times. But I really enjoyed being able to talk to you all and show some images. Thank you so much.
I'll take over the screen again. Greg, are you done with the images?
I am. I'm going to take that off, stop the sharing.
I got to tell you, Greg, the photos are fabulous photos. I never saw the one with the catch with the names of all of the fielders and the runners. I saw that with the Thompson one, but not this one. It was really rewarding. And in case you didn't know, Dusty Rhodes is going to be inducted into the Staten Island Hall of Fame on November 15th. But just great. The pictures were fabulous. Really, really enjoy it. The research is so evident by everything you did there. So hats off to you. And the book you contributed, again, best way to get it is Amazon or through Sabre if you're a member, correct?
That's the best way, yes.
Perfect. All right, let's go to Mr. Met for this evening. Jeff Cohen.
Thank you, Gary. And that was a terrific presentation, Greg. I really enjoyed it. I really only have 2 comments, not a question. I agree with Gary. That was a terrific picture, some I've never saw before. But the picture with Larry Doby and Al Rosen, I think it was slide number 33. I noticed the logo for the Indians with different logos. I never realize that they had two different logos. I guess they were a couple years apart. I recognized the one with this one, but there was
Mhm.
another one that that I think Dobie had on his sleeve. I just wanted to mention that. I just never noticed that.
You're exactly right, and I didn't do that intentionally in this presentation, but in another one I tried to show they're two different logos of the 1950s.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Storm and Norman Coleman.
Greg, I gotta tell you, I absolutely love your presentations. Not just this
Oh,
one,
well,
the
thank
last
you.
one too. The depth, the insight, the pictures, as everyone said, were great. And just for your knowledge, that's nothing to do with you, but on September 28th, after the Giants baseball game, in honor of the 29th, the 70th anniversary, I went onto the field at the Giants ballpark and recreated the catch and ensuing throw.
Oh my gosh. I would
It's-
like to see a video of that.
I can have Gary send you some pictures
Wow.
if you want to see it.
Yeah.
But I'd have to take umbrage with just one thing that you said.
Yeah.
You claimed that Mazeroski's home run was the single greatest whatever. No, it's Bobby Thompson. Other
I
than
knew that. I knew that would rile you up. I did that on purpose.
Well, I appreciate that. Just so I can say it. Thank you. Thanks, Greg, for
You
your
know,
presentation.
I can't remember a few years ago, Sabre was celebrating its 50th, I believe, 50th anniversary when it was founded at the Hall of Fame. And we had various attempts to look at what were the 50 most memorable plays of the last 50 years, or so obviously Mazeroski and Rhodes were outside of that realm, since we were just looking at the 70s on. And it's always interesting to have those discussions among baseball experts and your own fandom and interest and love and passion come in. So I appreciate that comment.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
And Greg, I saw the pictures of him in center field. I think he would have made the play also. Anyway, Harvey, you're up.
Greg, a fabulous presentation. The
Oh, thank
photos
you.
were wonderful. I particularly like how you pulled out the quotes from the contemporary sports writers at the time. It was magnificent. And I just want to piggyback on what Norm just said when you were talking about the great plays and home runs. You got to mention Bobby Thompson the next time you do this. You got to. Couple of comments. One that I always smile at was Leo took out Little after Willie's play, and Grissom comes in, and Little, walking off the mound, turns to Grissom and says, "Well, I got my guy," as if it was a foregone conclusion. Couple of years ago, we had Jerry Eisenberg as a guest. I don't know if you were present when Jerry spoke, and he was very close with Larry Doby. And I asked Jerry, what was the reaction of the Cleveland team after Willie's play? And Jerry said that Larry said they were done, even though they did still put up a fight, but they were cooked. A personal note, one of the photographs, the wide angle photograph of Dusty's home run, shows a message on the right field scoreboard where they say the New York Football Giants are going to play the Chicago Cardinals on October 10th. That was my first football game.
Oh my gosh.
I was
something.
Yeah, I was 9 then, but when we sat in the on the 50-yard line upper right field, and I'll tell you what my father, my brother, and I kept looking at and talking about was Willie's play, the catch, the throw, and I call it. I know they call it the catch, but it's the follow-up throw. How he kept Doby from scoring, and remember, it was tied at 2. And the game went extra innings. You don't know what would have happened if Cleveland would have scored that run.
No.
So it's the catch and the follow-up throw. And every time I see that video, I see how Willie, after he lets loose with the throw, focuses on the infield to see he knew where he was throwing that ball. Thank you. It was a great presentation. Thank you so much.
You mentioned, Harvey, just the throw, and it makes me think when I watch baseball today, so many outfielders, not to mention infielders, who throw to the wrong base.
Oh, yeah.
It's astonishing, and Willie Mays is 23 years old and fundamentally sound.
Yeah, but
it's just-
Willie had been playing since he was what, 16 years old?
Yeah.
Playing in the Negro Leagues. You know, I think Willie could have played into his 50s easily. But anyway, thank you very much.
Greg, as you see, this group will not let Willie Mays fade from our memory just because he's not here anymore. So, Ed Freer, you're up.
Yes, Greg, thank you for putting this all together. Maybe I missed something, but where was Bob Feller in the Cleveland lineup? Did you mention him at all?
No, didn't.
No. Feller, he was injured and did not pitch in the latter half of the season. So he
was out?
didn't play the World Series.
And that could have made a difference. I don't know. I didn't
I
know
think he
that.
might have
Thank
won
you.
13 games that season, but he was on the way out.
Thank you, Ed.
He was on the way out?
Are you
Well,
still
he on the way
the
out?
end of his career.
He really? No, I guess so. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ed. Bill Clink, you're up. Unmute, Bill.
I do the same thing with you, Gary, that I do with my wife. I mute myself. But hey, thank you very much for a great presentation. I wanted to ask you one thing, and actually the name has come up, and that was Bob Feller. I don't know if there has ever been a World Series where there were 4 future Hall of Fame pitchers eligible. Has that ever happened before on the same team? Only 3 pitch.
That's a good trivia question. That should be at our next Saber meeting.
I've always wondered if anyone could shed light on that. Newhouser, Wynn, Lemon, and obviously Feller on that. I noticed one thing. I don't know if you did when on a replay of the Mays catch. It's always been said that Mays went straight back for the catch. If you look at that, he did a semicircle. He circled back on the ball. He went to his left and then came back on it. Has anyone ever commented on that you know of, Greg? He didn't go straight back.
Right. Not that I know of.
Pardon?
I cannot recall any discussions on that.
I just noticed it for the first time, and that maybe that was his style, that he got a better look at it that way than going straight back. You know, when he looked back over his shoulder, if he's going to his left on it. But I just wondered on it. I have one thing. It's a little hard to see. That's a game 1 stub. I have tried without success to have one of my best friends on earth speak to the group. Gary, I'm still trying. He's still saying no. He's still afraid of Zoom. One of my best friends was in the center field bleachers that day.
Oh my gosh.
He's 89 years old. He's got a number of ailments and problems, but you know, he is what he is. And I don't want to push our friendship, but I've said, these are really nice guys, and Gary will work with you on this, and your daughter can help you run the Zoom. And basically these guys are going to throw you softball questions. It's going to be easy stuff. They're not going to try to challenge you on anything.
Yeah, that's that kind of oral history. I mean, Saber, just on a side note, Saber has an undertaking where we're collecting these kinds of baseball memories and oral history because you know, we're going to lose these insights from fans about what happened at games. And I think it's important to have some kind of here a visual record and an audio record of how things were. I mean, the news is one thing. The videos are often grainy, but the eyewitness accounts of how baseball plays and games unfolded, that kind of oral history is so important.
I'll see if I can do an interview with him one-on-one and just let him do all the talking.
Yeah.
That'll be unusual for me, but I'll let him do the talking. And that may suffice, Gary, because I don't think we're going to get him on. I wanted to close with actually, and these are his words exactly, and to follow up on what Harvey had to say. He's not present now, he stepped away, but when he talked about, there you are, you're back, Harvey. When he said, I got my man, let me give you the preface to I got my man. I got a very nice letter back many years ago, back in 1998, from Don Little. And here was his word for word description. A very serious situation. 2 men on. The score tied 2-2. Nobody out. Coach Freddie Fitzsimmons went out to take Magliot and bring me in.
Bill, you muted yourself.
You muted yourself.
Can't hear you, Bill.
Bill, you muted yourself. There
That's
you go.
right. A very serious situation. 2 men out. The score tied 2-2. Nobody out. Coach Freddie Fitzsimmons went out to take Magley out and bring me in. Westrom, the catcher, Freddie, and I studied the situation. Willie bunt. West said yes. I also thought he would bunt. Freddie said, okay, pitch him up. The first pitch was a high fastball in on his fist. He took it for a called strike. West came out halfway to the mound and said, I still think he's going to bunt. Another fastball higher and tight. He tried to bunt, but he fouled it off down the third base line. Now he's hitting curveball, low and away for a ball. And then a fastball up and away, which he hit the deep center about 415 feet. Willie, the great player, the greatest player ever to play baseball, caught it. We went on to win in 15 innings. A great day all around, Don Little. That's some nice memories from a guy
It
that
sure is.
served it up. Yeah. I thank you, Greg. That was one of my favorite stories in that book.
You must have a really good letter collection. I recall you talking about reading some excerpts from Hearn's letter to you.
Yeah, I have.
Last month.
I have many of these, and they are all going to California to a college over there to the Institute for Baseball Studies
That's
over
wonderful.
the next 5 years. It's the toughest gift
That's
I've ever
wonderful.
made. I want to give it, but I want to hang on to it. And all the stuff's going over there, including the stub.
Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome. Thanks for staying, Greg.
Jerry Markwright. I mean, Steve Rothschild.
Thank you. Great presentation. A lot of memories. I should have brought it in. Bill showed his ticket stuff for game 1. I have the ticket stuff for game 2, and it says enter at Speedway. And a lot of people who don't know New York, don't know where the Polo Grounds was, don't know really what that means. That really caught my eye, enter at Speedway. And I believe, and I could be wrong, that Perry Como sang the national anthem at all 4 games. Is there anybody that can verify that? I think I heard that from Rich Rogers, Gene.
Including in Cleveland. I don't know about that.
All right. Okay, not important. And another thing which caught my eye, you had the Daily News there, 5 cents. I remember my grandfather going down every morning and buying the Daily News, and it was 4 cents. And one morning he came up screaming that it went up to 5 cents. So when I saw that, brought back tremendous memories. Mays' catch, I had the opportunity on a couple of occasions to speak with Monty Irvin, and I'm sure guys have heard this before. Willie had this thing when he's going to catch the ball, he would pound his glove. While he's running, he's pounding the glove. So Monty Irvin said, we all knew that Willie would catch the ball. And the last thing is Bob Feller. I didn't know about him not being well the last half of the season, which is possible because he pitched into 56. I believe there was a rub there in 54. He wanted to pitch in that series, he was on the roster evidently. It was a little different in those days,
Yeah.
but it never happened, and it might have caused a little bit of a change. Thank you so much. Those photos and your talk, right on.
Thank you. I think right before Gary commenced the meeting, you were showing some cool baseball cards.
I had this this one.
Nice.
Steve, Steve, in case you didn't know, the reason I called you Jerry Markwright, he was a famous NFL official, football, and you've been gone for a while.
Oh, refereeing that's right. Jeff, didn't catch it. Thank you.
All right, Mars, you're up. Mars, unmute yourself, Mars.
Okay, I got it. You have to excuse me. I'm in competition with the Blue Angels here in San Francisco. It's really blasting my ears out of here. Craig, terrific presentation, wonderful photographs. Couple of comments. Of course, if you are living in Pittsburgh, Mazeroski's home run was the quintessential blast. Willie Mays' catch for the New Yorkers. But when you think about Bobby Thompson's home run, 13 and a half games behind, caught up at the last day of the season. Actually, the Dodgers had to win their game. The drama from mid-August on, to me, is unprecedented in baseball history. And that's why, like, even though New Yorkers are biased on that, it's definitely theater.
That's what baseball gives us. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think Bob Feller won 13 games that year.
He did.
Yeah. So, and I guess, was he injured in the second half of the season?
Well, supposedly, yeah.
Okay. And, you gave me an idea. I never thought that this would much matter with Saber. But you mentioned oral history. Well, on my 10th birthday, September 8th, 1957, I know other members have heard this before, but here's where the story may differ from what our members have heard before. So my pop got tickets for my two cousins who just lost their father at 47 years old from a cerebral hemorrhage. So he took my cousins and he took me, and we were sitting in foul territory, just on the foul side of the foul pole. In the second inning, Drysdale walk, Gilliam hits a foul ball that went off my pop's fingertips. The next pitch, he hit it on the fair side. Dodgers took a 2-0 lead. They're like, that's the Blue Angels, by the way. Now, so that was embedded in my mind. But what happened in the fourth inning, there's a picture in my mind of Mays and Jablonski hit consecutive triples. And then Hank Sauer, now mind you, we're sitting in the upper right field deck in foul territory. When Hank Sauer hit the ball to left field, I'm watching the trajectory of that ball, and it didn't go down the line, but it went into the upper deck, and the Giants took a 3-2 lead that held up. So I didn't think this would much matter to Saber, but there's not many of us survivors left that watched the Giants in the Polo Grounds. And that picture is still in my head, both the ball glancing off my pop's fingertips where the guy behind us got the ball, and the consecutive triples, and then Sauer's home run. I could see it still in my mind. Thank you very much for letting me air my story.
Thank you. I wouldn't mind joining you with the cigar.
Sure.
Paul, you're up, Paul.
Yeah, Greg, thank you very much. I just was
Thank you,
curious
Paul.
about your pictures. I love the picture of Magley on the mound. I mean, you really get a sense of how big the ballpark is and how much room there was. And
I love those kinds of pictures.
Where did they come from? How did you get those?
Some of those I was able to get through Saber contacts, and I have a contact at Getty that I I'm able to get some of
Okay.
the images from. And then just scouring photo archives from public access photo archives,
Yeah, Paul, that
digitized archives.
the center field bleachers, Paul, behind Magley, that was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I just thought that was wonderful. I'd never seen a picture quite like that. It really gets expansive, and you really wonder in the old ballparks when catchers really had to be very careful about a ball getting by him because a guy could
Yeah.
get 2 bases instead of just 1, you know? All right, well, thank you, Greg, very much. Thanks,
Thank
Gary.
you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Yep.
Howard, you're up.
Yeah, hi, Greg. I enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you.
Just a couple of comments. I met Dusty Rhodes at a baseball memorabilia show a couple of years before he died. And I guess it was in New Jersey. And I went up to him and I said hi. I introduced myself and I congratulated him on the home run that he hit so many years earlier. And he looks at me incredulous and he starts to laugh. And then he said it in a deep southern drawl of his, which I could barely understand. You mean you don't want to talk about Willie's catch? You only want to talk about my crummy 290-foot home run? And it kind of it floored me. He just wanted to talk about Willie's catch. But he was a very nice guy, and his accent was just like incredible. I never heard a Southern accent like that. I haven't been in the South too many times, the deep South, other than Florida and driving through Georgia. But that was an incredible accent that he had. Second of all, you mentioned about hyperbole, how people are talking about Willie's catch as opposed to so-and-so's catch, another catch. Just in the past week, watching all the Met playoff games, at first they were saying Pete's home run was the greatest, most incredible home run in Mets history. And then Lindor last night replaced that already. So, to me, you just say one of the greatest. It's just funny how they changed from, I think actually Lindor's first home run was in the playoffs, right? Against Atlanta, which helped them get into the playoffs. And then Pete won the game. And then, when they were when nothing was going on for the Mets. And then the other day, last night, Lindor. So hyperbole is really, sometimes you have to take it with a grain of salt. And you showed the videos of Agie's catches, which I saw on TV after school. I was in high school back in those days. But I still think Swoboda's catch was the best. You didn't mention Swoboda's catch because he was diving. He was parallel to the ground, and he saved that game for the Mets and for Tom Seaver. So I think that was even more. That one catch was more significant than the two Agie catches. But having said that, Willie's catch, I wasn't around for that. Well, I was born. I was 1 year old. Willie's catch is the best I've ever seen on film. And but that Swoboda catch to me I saw that live as it happened. That was incredible.
I debated showing the video of the Swoboda catch. And the reason I chose Agee is just to have the outfield catch running towards the wall. That was one of the main reasons. But that Swoboda catch, wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg, Mars brought up a really good point, I think. I know Saber's so into the research and, developing this stuff, but to actually have people who are still alive to witness this stuff, some of the greatest moments in baseball history, maybe a book could be written about that.
Oral history and eyewitness history is so important for baseball. I mean, fans create the memories and drive the narratives as much as the players and the individual teams and plays. I think that these oral history endeavors that Saber's undertaken are really important to preserve how we view and talk about baseball.
Absolutely. Does anybody have a question before I let Harvey? All right, we'll go to Steve and then Harvey will wrap it up.
Just
Steve,
a quick, I forgot to mention this. One of the slides you showed, the Eddie Grant Memorial Plaque was extremely visible. It is hard to believe that was stolen September 29th, 57, the last game at the Polo Grounds. And I have photos, you've probably seen them, where there's cops all around that area. How in blazes could that have been taken and never recovered? Anyway, another discussion. Thank you.
Renee, go ahead. Renee?
I just want to echo what everybody has said. I mean, I meant to raise my hand many times, but it's always the same thing, and I'm just going to repeat it. Great, awesome presentation. photographs really accentuated with the quotes, the newspaper clippings, phenomenal. And then I'm going to be selfish. That one picture of Willie Mays with the photographers on the ground, again, like all the other pictures I never saw, and the expansion shot with Sal Magley, that Willie Mays photograph, phenomenal. Thank you, Ferret. It was great. Thank you.
Harvey, why don't you wrap it up?
Very briefly, a few years ago, Major League Baseball named the MVP of the World Series trophy in honor of Willie Mays. And I think that's a wonderful way to end this conversation, I guess.
Let's all give it up.
You
for
all in
Greg.
New York have a lot going on still.
Yeah, Greg, thank you so much. And again, great way to support Greg, and a great way to remember Willie is the book he contributed to. Again,
Thank you
through
so much.
paper or through Amazon.
Thanks, Greg.
Good picks. I
Greg,
appreciate everything.
don't be a stranger, Greg. All right.
I won't, Gary. We'll talk.
We will talk. We will see each other next Wednesday with John Marino. It'll be a tough loss, the 7 games against the Yankees, but he'll have a lot of great insights to what went on during the '62 World Series. So again, for any of the Jewish people who are fasting, easy fast, I will hang out a while here. If anybody wants to talk Buster Posey and the like, have a great weekend. Be well, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
Nice job. The rain.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Awesome.
62.
That was awesome.
Say, I have a question about